One question you might ask yourself when you start to learn software development is, do you want to be a back-end or a front-end developer? And what does that even mean anyway? Back-end or front-end? The end of what? Well, stick with me for a couple of minutes and I'm going to tell you exactly what these things mean, where the terms come from, and how we can try to answer that question of what should you become. Alright, what does front-end and back-end development really mean? Well, these terms come from web development, and by that we mean building web applications that someone will navigate to in their browser and interact with. So think Facebook, Gmail, eBay, YouTube. These are all web applications that you interact with through your browser, and they have both a front end and a back end. Take YouTube, for example, because that's the web app that you're on right now. The front end of YouTube is all the stuff that you can see on your screen. Whether you're watching this through Chrome or through a YouTube app or any other browser, the front end is that experience that you're interacting with. The pictures, the pieces of text, the layout, the way that when you click on the subscribe button, it changes from a red button saying subscribe to a grey box saying subscribed. So that interaction you have with the subscribe button, that's the front end code that's running on your device. There'll be some JavaScript running in your browser or on your mobile app that detected you clicking on the button and changed the colour. Now that JavaScript code was written by a software engineer at YouTube, at Google, and that human would have been a front-end engineer. But there's a whole other side to YouTube. As well as creating this nice user interface, there's the stuff that happens on Google's servers, over in one of the many data centers that Google's got around the world. That's where the actual videos are stored. And those data centers, they're computers called servers, right? They have code running on them as well. Code that stores videos, compresses the videos, code that analyzes the audio to check for copyright infringement, code that authenticates the person making the request or trying to upload the video to check that they're logged in. All of that code you never actually see as a user. It's the back end. It's behind the internet basically, and it's hidden from you. The best analogy for this is that scene in The Wizard of Oz. Do you know where Dorothy finally meets the wizard and he's this big face in the smoke, and then Toto the dog pulls back the curtain? It's actually just a bloke pulling levers. Well, that bloke pulling the lever is the back end, and that exists for every website on the internet pretty much. And that backend code is written by backend engineers. And because the tasks that the backend code is doing, like saving videos and encrypting things, that sort of stuff, because that is such a different set of tasks to building a user interface, that's why these two different disciplines have emerged. Now you do get full-stack developers, and that's people that can do both, but they generally learned one first and then picked up the other one later on. Also, you'll find that full-stack developers work at smaller companies, because as a company grows, one of the first things they'll do when they get to a certain size is specialize their engineering teams. So it's better for a company to have a bunch of brilliant front-end developers and a bunch of brilliant back-end developers than to have some sort of average jack-of-all-trades kind of developer across the board. At smaller companies, where the stream of work is perhaps a bit more variable, that balance is reversed, and it's actually really useful to have the adaptability of full-stack engineers. So it really is a company size thing. I was a full-stack developer, but then I learned coding by writing desktop applications where there wasn't really a front end or a back end, it all just ran on one computer, a bit like a mobile app. And I did Android development in Java for about a year at one point in my career, and I think I picked that up really, really easily because writing an Android app is actually very similar to writing a Windows desktop program that I was doing in like 1998. It's all a bit more full stack. My app would interact with a database and run asynchronous tasks to analyze data, but it also rendered buttons and images and listened to user input and all that sort of thing, all in one piece of software written by one developer, me. Personally, I think I actually struggled quite a bit early on in my career by pitching myself as a full stack developer because I wasn't an expert in any one thing. I could do like CSS and JavaScript and build user experiences, but I could also like set up database indexes and do integration testing and all those things that you associate with backend development. But I think because I was trying to do all of these things at once, I never really doubled down and became an expert in any one thing, and that's probably why I never worked at Google. So what should you do? After all of this, which path is right for you? Or should you be a full stack developer like me? Well, the only answer really is to try both. Try everything, and I mean really try it. Spend multiple weeks building out an API or building a front end and then decide what you prefer. You could even get a job as a front end developer or a back end developer, and then after 6 months turn around to your employer and say, hey, like, I really like it here, but I'm not sure I want to be a back-end developer forever. Is there any chance I could have a bit of exposure to retrain on the front end and do that? They might say yes. I've managed lots of engineers over my career that wanted to switch from front end to back end or vice versa, and I've helped people through that transition very successfully. At the end of the day, if you're smart and you're good at learning, you'll be able to do either, and you'll be able to transition between one or the other. So don't sweat the question too much now. And that's my final advice really. Just learn a bit of everything. Keep practicing, keep building your skills, and eventually your path will just appear by itself. The year I spent writing an Android app made me not want to be a mobile developer anymore. But I still learned a lot of valuable skills from doing that. I learned Java for one. I learned a lot about Android as an operating system. I'm extremely glad I had that experience and I tried it out, even if mobile development wasn't really for me. Anyway, I hope this was helpful. Please do check out my other videos, and if you have any questions, please put them in the comment section below, and I will try to respond to all comments since my channel is so small I can read.